to do this. And so we really rejoice. Shereen Awwad Hilal, H-E-L-A-L, is a Palestinian Christian working for peace. She is the director of community outreach at Bethlehem Bible College and has a passion to work with different local organizations towards peace building and also creating a better future for the Palestinians in the land rather than leave the country to seek a better future outside of Palestine. Shereen is also the coordinator of Musalaha Women's Ministry. Once a year, Musalaha hosts an annual conference bringing together Israeli and Palestinian women in a neutral location outside of the region to create a balance of power where they work towards forgiveness, understanding, and reconciliation. As part of her work with Musalaha, she desires to see women leaders in the area who are educated and trained toward leadership, reconciliation, non-violence, rights, and other issues that are essential in daily life, especially in Palestine. Shereen holds a BA English degree in literature minor in translation from Bethlehem University, an MA degree in educational administration from Texas A&M University, USA, and an MBA from Tel Aviv University. She and her very supportive husbands have 4 children, Miron, Michelle, Maria, and Raya. I don't know where, in terms of this, that is really false, but she will tell us. Let's put our hands together for
Wow, that was a lot.
Yes.
Well, you need to continue.
Yeah.
Yeah. You need to continue praying because I'm also leaving Africa back to Palestine. Okay? Yes. Thank you again. Such a privilege to be here. What I will do, I will read my paper so you can actually follow with me. And the things that have been mentioned now will be mentioned again, but just for your own memory, I guess. And I also need to explain that what I'm reading today is something that I challenged my community, my church in Palestine. Okay? And I want to tell you the result out of that, and that happened in May 2018. Okay? So my name is Shereen Awwad. It's an honor to be with you in South Africa to learn more about your people and the struggle for justice. I was born and raised in Beit Sahur, which is known as the Shepherd's Field from the time of Jesus up to this day. I have 4 lovely children, Mirun, Marcel, May, and Ryan. Sometimes my husband is the 5th, it depends. My parents were also born and raised in Palestine. My dad is from Beit Sahur as well, and my mom comes from Gaza. You all must have heard about Gaza. Both of them are my source of inspiration. Some people ask, how long have you been involved in peace building? My answer is that there is no beginning or end. I've been involved in peace building for as long as I can remember. The things that first challenged me to be active in peace building is conflict. I have been surrounded by conflict all of my life, and many of you as well. We all live in some sort of conflict, but the conflict I learned is a double-edged sword, as one side is gender and how my culture perceives it, and the other is the political situation where we are living in. I am a woman, I am a Christian, and I am a peacemaker, and I will share how each of these affect me and many Palestinian Christian women in the context of conflict. Over the years, I have challenged my Palestinian community to think deeply about this with me, and I invite you to consider that areas you, as fellow Christian practitioners in social justice, need to challenge your own community. Palestine and South Africa have faced long periods of injustice, and both our peoples know that the international community plays a role in this, in solidarity advocating for justice, in silence, complicit in it, or actively siding with those who oppress us. What Palestinian society says about women. I am a woman, but this does not simply refer surrounding Palestinian womanhood. It's important to begin by distinguishing between sex and gender. Gender is not biological sex, whether one is born male or female, but it is the roles and the responsibilities associated with masculinity and femininity. Gender characteristics change over time as it has to do with the cultural way a body is perceived. In my society, and perhaps in yours, gender has many negative connotations because there is a difference between what men and women can do. Most times the culture with its politics, tradition, church, and society limit women in so many ways. We often hear women are not ready to hold a proper conversation, or when men speak, women should be silent. We know how much men depend on women, but when it is in public, it is not the case. Women should be behind the scenes. People say supporting the men in their lives as well. Consider some Palestinian idioms used on an almost daily basis, which is how we use it every day. We say, المرأة ناقصة عقل ودين. This is actually also in Islam, but that says women are born in half a brain, with half a brain. Or هم البنات الممات. A mother's anxiety over her daughter goes to the grave. Or آخر البنات المطبخ. آخرة البنات المطبخ. No matter what you do or where you go, you will end up in the kitchen. Do you have such a thing here in Africa? In my walk of life, in my career life, and in my personal life, I have met and worked with so many women. What I notice is that women are so smart. They hold important positions in schools and in banks and other vocations. Additionally, women are most often the educators who walk with their children, listen to this, teaching them and trying to raise them the proper way. If we have the privilege and the challenge of raising our children, and if we are respected in certain positions, why should we accept silence in others? There is more to say. Sometimes we think religion or church will free us from such mentality, but the truth is, it doesn't. Most churches in Palestine and in Israel prohibit women from using their God-given skills. Women are not looked at primarily as teachers or leaders, but as second-class citizens, those valued for quietly keeping the children in line while the men teach and preach and gain respect in their community. What it means to be a Christian in this context. I am a woman. I am a Christian. What does it mean for me to be a Palestinian Christian woman? It means that I turn to the Bible or to the biblical text as a source of my inspiration. Yet often the scriptures have been quoted and texts have been used to dehumanize and to subjugate women. The African-American womanist theologian, her name is Daphne, speaks at length about gender, power and marginalization in the scripture. And there is much we can learn from one another, reading across times and cultures and traditions, and I bring some of what I have learned from her here. I recall a very powerful story about a simple woman who came to greatness not because she chose it, but because she was treated unjustly. And yet she came out on the other side. She serves a particular place in the story, a place we women know well. She is important due to her relationship with an important man. And we do not know much about her from her perspective. And it didn't serve the writer's interest to tell us where she came from, what she loves, those she left behind, and the emotional cost of the injustice imposed on her. I would like to share a little about Hajar, from Genesis 16. Hajar, or Hagar, is considered the mother of many nations, but let us be more specific. Hagar is looked at as the mother of the Arab people. She is recalled not only to the biblical account, but to the Muslim tradition. While she is not mentioned in the Quran, Hajar, is spoken of in the Hadith, the reports and the accounts connected to the Prophet Muhammad's life. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay. In Islam, Hagar or Hajar is the mother of Abraham's heir, the firstborn child. Part of Hagar's flight into the wilderness is remembered during the annual Hajj. And many people do not know that the Arabic word for Hagar or Hajar, or for Hagar and Hajj are connected. Hajar or Hajj. Genesis 16 does not tell us how Hagar became a slave. Was she born a slave? Where was her family from? The author does not think it is important to tell us. We do not even know her real name, for she is an other. Hajar means the foreigner or the alien in Hebrew. In Genesis 16, we see that Hagar has no say over her body or to whom her body is given. She is an other by all measures. As she is female, she is a foreign, she is a slave. However, she does have something Sarai does not, fertility. Until today, many people value women only if bear children. And so Hagar is used for the one thing she is deemed valuable for. Some interpretations of the Bible look at Hagar as cursed. Sarah, the mother of Isaac and the Jewish people, is considered blessed and Hagar cursed. But that is not true. Listen to this carefully. Hagar was also blessed.
Yeah.
When she was forced from Sarah's home, she was deserted and alone with her son Ismail. She was desperate, and she cried out to God. What did God do? Did God respond to her cry? A messenger of God, who often functioned as God in disguise, came to her. And not only did God respond, God met her needs. This is the very first theophany in the Bible, the very first time we see God appear. Isn't it amazing that God first appeared to a woman? And not only any woman, but to the mother of Arab people. This, my fellow sisters and my fellow brothers, is the way we need to learn to approach the text. We need to read the text again, across time and cultures. Well, Gawi shares Hagar is also revered as a matriarch by many African American Christians who find resonance between her enslavement, sexual abuse, and ultimate liberation, and the experience of enslaved African women in the American and Caribbean. And again, what I'm trying to say here, we go through texts all the time, but we never interpret the text the way we think. It's just a story that we read and we're happy about. Dear brothers and sisters, let us learn new lessons from Hagar's story that African American Christian can teach us from the struggle for liberation, and let us bless women as God blessed Hagar. What it means to be a peacemaker in this context. I am a woman, I'm a Christian, and I'm a peacemaker. What does it mean for me to be a Palestinian Christian woman who is a peacemaker? When people want to know about the Palestinian women peacemakers, they want to know about the peace and reconciliation we engage in. I have been committed to working for peace and justice alongside my Israeli brothers and sisters for so many years. But it's important to note, peace is not passive, and peace is not silent. As you know well from your own context and struggle, peace protests, peace acts, peace disrupts the status quo. I am committed to working for peace, and I am committed to learning with and from my brothers and sisters around the world. But I would also like to address another less discussed aspect of peacemaking. Many times, people want to hear from women when they talk about peace, or they need a token woman to speak at their conferences. But what about all the other areas in our lives and church? And the communities. If we women are an important part of the church and the Palestinian community, why are we not 50% of society's leaders, of church leaders, of conference speakers? How is that expressed in your South African context, brothers and sisters? I have challenged my own Palestinian community. Where are the places they make for women when conferences are over and when we are no longer needed to fill a quota or be a token women leaders? And even my dear friends, you can see in so many conferences, and sometimes it hurts, and most times it hurts actually, because actually recently, Mundir, if you remember, we were discussing, there was a conference about how women should be, I think about family and women being, good wives and all kinds of these things. There are like 4 titles, and they're all women related. And there was not even one woman speaker. They were all men. And that was not even, listen to this, and that was not even in the Middle East. That was a church in America where sometimes we think we're very liberal. But to me, that's also a problem. I'm a Palestinian, I'm a Christian, and I'm a woman. I want to see Palestinians use their influence for peace. I want to see Christians use their influence for peace. And I want to see women use their influence for peace. I want to see people welcome to the table with all aspects of their identity. And Palestinian Christian women bring their unique experience and wisdom. And we seek to share our struggle and hard-won wisdom in our conflict, just as we seek to learn from other brothers and sisters at home and around the world. And to you, my dear brothers and sisters in the international community, sometimes we feel that people want to hear our success stories without regard of our ongoing struggles, not only in the conflict, but in our daily lives, in our communities, and in our churches. You can play an important role in supporting us not only theologically and nationally, but also in supporting equality for Palestinian women. When you support our conferences and come and visit us and invite us to your countries like what we do now, you can ask to hear from more women or more of our women, not just men. And I'm really happy and proud that you insisted on having a woman come here.
We wanted more,
Yeah, and we actually invited more, but they had commitments and obligations, they couldn't come, which is true. Yeah. As important as we believe it is that Christians who come to the Holy Land not only meet Jews, but also Palestinians. We also believe it's important that you not only meet Palestinian men, but Palestinian women. You can enforce our inferior status, or you can help us overcome it by insisting that women should be equally represented among the speakers, theologians, and figures you meet and hear from. Part of what I do is empower women and remind them that they are capable and they are worthy, whether or not society allows them roles and opportunities. I encourage women to speak up if something is wrong, to speak against injustice if they are treated unjustly. I try to inspire women to work on appreciating themselves and to believe that they are just as able as the men in our community. Sometimes when you continue to hear you are not worthy, you are told you have half a brain, but you bring anxiety to your mother, or you can bring shame to your family. When you are told you belong to the kitchen, then you start to believe that this is true, and you become less confident in yourself. When my Palestinian community denies us a chance to speak equally, when the international community is not interested in actively supporting Palestinian women and insisting that they hear from us as well, this result is creating a big wall, exactly like the apartheid wall we have around in the West Bank. This wall divides our community. It divides men and women. It keeps women from being able to use their gifts in the context of church and society. And this wall must come down. Let us once again look at the story of Hagar. When Hagar cried out to God, the Lord heard her cry. Well, Daphne writes about Hagar's encounter with God. When she runs away, God appears to her as a divine messenger. In Genesis 16:13, we see that God revealed God's self to her as Yahweh, or the Lord in capital letters. But Hagar does not call God by the name. Instead, Daphne writes, Hagar gives God a new name, one of her choosing. She calls God Elroy, or God who has seen me, or God whom I have seen. This naming of God by a person without precedent, nor is there any following example of someone naming God in the scriptures. I would like to suggest, my dear friends, that in Palestinian society, Christian society, our men are seen as the chosen children, the children of Sarah, the ones to whom the promises of leadership and blessings are given. And our women are seen as those who are unworthy of leadership, brought back in when we are needed, and we are rejected when others think we are no longer useful. Dear friends, here today, I challenge you, how is this in your context? I challenge my fellow Palestinians and South African women. You are seen by God. God sees you, and you are worthy. In the tradition of Hagar, we have a special place, and we can call God by a new name and proclaim this among our people. This can bring a message of peace, not only in the peace and social justice work we are committed to with those we are in conflict, but also a message of true sustainable peace within our home community as well. Conclusion. My brothers and sisters, I implore you, do not allow these stories to overlook us. Let your conferences continue without us, assuming our silence is self-imposed rather than chosen by others over us. This is a chance for us to allow the story of Hagar to challenge us, to provide a place for Palestinian Christian and South African women who believe that women are as worthy and competent as men. I'm talking about a vision of women and our role in the society as being inclusive and mutual blessing. I know our communities have lots of brokenness and complicated family relationships. Our society must create space for all of these people to use their gifts, regardless of whether they are an other in our community, as Hagar was in hers. For we have no idea what beautiful message of worth and value can come from the line of the woman who was treated unjustly. This, my friends, is a little of what it means for me to be a woman, a Christian, and a peacemaker. It is protest, it is action, it is disruption, and there is a place and role for all of us. May we support and affirm the gifting of all people within our communities, men and women, and also children, and see that our community will never be completely whole until all of us are freed to use our gifts to the glory of God. Thank you. Before I finish, I just want to continue with another 5 minutes. I'm sorry for that, but when I shared this message at Christ at the Checkpoint, and people challenged me, said, was the church happy about it? And basically, the church was not happy, because what can you do? So what generated out of that letter was actually a vision I had that I want to see more women leaders trained, and I want to see a conference. And I want to do a big conference, but not too big to be paralyzed. You know, we start with, slowly. And it wasn't about having a conference, because we do have conferences every summer, for men, women, children, men, women solely. But what's unique about the initiative and the vision I have is that we want women to be the teachers, to just stand and talk to other women. And we want them to talk about peace and reconciliation and other issues related. So sure enough, in September 2018, I started a group of 17 women leaders from the Bethlehem district. And we have been meeting since then. And I need you to pray for me because on the 28th of November is our first conference. And sure enough, on my way to South Africa, I guess you were praying for the flight, but the Lord listened in other ways because I got a call that our financial need was covered for the conference. And this actually leads to talk a bit about reconciliation because I want to answer also your question, but I don't know when they will use the Q&A because also this same month, in the month of November, we very much work towards reconciliation. We very much work towards women gathered together, Israelis and Palestinians believing in Jesus Christ, coming together in a common ground and talking about the different issues of reconciliation. And of course, to reconciliation there are rules. As the same thing to peace, there are rules. You cannot have peace without reconciliation. And you cannot have reconciliation without talking to the other. So you cannot just, you can forgive someone for something he did wrong to you, but if you want to reconcile, it has to be face by face. So November 14th, we're taking a group of 10 women from Israel and 10 women from Palestine, and we're actually going to the desert. So if you'd like to join us, you're welcome. So we're going to the desert for 3 days to talk, to have time where there is no first level, second level, no internet as well, and time to just, study and what do you call it, have more fellowship with one another. So I will ask you also to pray for this that is happening in November. So November is a very busy month for us, actually. So thank you again. And yes, do you want me to answer your question? Okay, so your question was, how do you see that women are more involved in peacemaking than men? Is that your question? Correct. Okay. Through the walk of reconciliation, I met so many women with different gifts. And I noticed that women are resilient, and also women are patient, and women are willing to learn. So basically, we start with women in the process of, let's say, or the stages of reconciliation, but you need to know one important thing, that it's a process, and some people cannot continue with reconciliation. It's so hard. It's not a piece of cake to reconcile. But we've seen, when we do groups, we've seen that the most number stays or continues with reconciliation are actually women. I want to give you an example, because the example would actually show why women. In 2014, we say it's the war against Gaza because there were, attacks to Ashkelon and then answering back to Gaza. So to me, as a Palestinian, it was a war on Gaza. It was only for a week or 10 days. And that war generated catastrophe because over 2,000 children were killed for no reason. So at that time, what would you expect, a Palestinian and Israeli? It would be the ideal time for us to hide. Because as Palestinians, we're worried that people will start calling us collaborators at the time where there's war. And for the Israelis, it's a lost battle. I mean, we're winning anyways because we have the power. But what we did as women, we've had Musalaha, all the participants of Musalaha, only women acted. So what did we do? Let me tell you what we did. We gathered all the women and we bought gifts and we went to Jews and Palestinians. We went to the hospitals on the West Bank. Because basically, if you get hurt in Gaza, the only way for you to survive is get out of Gaza and stay at one of the West Bank or Jerusalem hospitals. So the Israeli women were having access to these hospitals. So Israeli women and Palestinian women went and visited the children with amputated legs and arms, and it was a catastrophe. We thought women would not receive us, their mothers, because they have an escort, like one person from the family. And we were very well received. At that same time, we only happens when peace, it only happens with reconciliation, because if we turn our heads to one another or our backs to one another, there is nothing we can accomplish. And that same period of time, we also wrote a statement. I tell you, there were lots of Christian men who were trying to write a statement for the war that took place over Gaza, and the statement was not out. The women who did the statement was out and was signed by so many Palestinian and Israeli women who said, stop the bloodshed. It's high time to reconcile, because who are the victims? The children are the victims of what's really happening. Another thing that we did as women in that same period of time, there was a Messianic woman who lost her son as a soldier in Gaza. I personally wrote a letter of condolences, and we planted a tree. A Palestinian writing a letter to a Jewish woman who lost her son in the territory of Palestine to tell her how sorry she is, because this is not the way we want to see our children in the future. And what do you say? I think women are capable.
Fantastic. Thanks again, Shereen. I'd like for us to, if there are any questions, please let